The year was 2022. The date, September 13th, Ukrainian forces were making gains on the battlefield, pushing back Russian troops. But then something changed. The skies over Ukraine began buzzing with a new threat: small unmanned aircraft, diving into targets, exploding on impact. These were drones, Iranian drones. To be specific, the Shahd-136 kamikaze drones. Russia had bought them from Tehran, and they were changing the dynamics of the war. Each drone cost around $20,000. Fraction of what Western missiles cost, but they were deadly effective. And they revealed something the world had overlooked: Iran had become a drone superpower. So how did this happen? How did a country under crippling sanctions build one of the world's most formidable drone fleets? And what does this mean for global security? Time for a closer look. You cannot understand Iran's drone program without understanding its constraints. The country has been under sanctions for decades. First came the 1979 revolution, then the hostage crisis. After that, Iran was cut off from Western military technology. No fighter jets, no advanced missiles, no modern weapons. So Tehran had to improvise, and drones became the answer. The program began in the 1980s during the Iran-Iraq war. Back then, Iran's air force was struggling. Saddam Hussein's Iraq had support from the West. They had better planes, better weapons. Iran needed an equalizer, so they turned to reconnaissance drones. Simple aircraft that could fly over enemy lines, take pictures, and return. These early drones were basic. Some were even reverse-engineered from American models like the MQM-1 7-target drone. Iran had captured a few, and their engineers took them apart, studied them, rebuilt them. It was crude, but it worked. And it taught Iran a valuable lesson: you don't need to buy weapons, you can build them. The real breakthrough came in the 1990s and 2000s. Iran began investing heavily in drone technology. They set up research centers, recruited engineers, poured money into development. And slowly their capabilities grew. By the mid-2000s, Iran had developed the Ababel drone. It could carry cameras, even small warheads. This was a game changer. Iran could now strike targets from the air without risking pilots. Then came 2011, another watershed moment. An American RQ-170 Sentinel drone was flying over Iran. It was one of the most advanced stealth drones in the world, used by the CIA for reconnaissance, but Iranian forces managed to hack it. They jammed its communications, took control, and landed it intact. This was intelligence. Goldmine. Iran's engineers reverse-engineered the RQ-170. They studied its stealth technology, its sensors, its design. And within a few years, Iran unveiled its own version, the Sighe drone. It looked almost identical to the American model, and it sent a clear message: Iran could match Western technology, at least in drones. By the 2010s, Iran's drone fleet had matured. They had reconnaissance drones, combat drones, even kamikaze drones, and they were exporting them to allies across the region: Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, militias in Iraq. All of them began using Iranian drones. And this is where Iran's strategy becomes clear. Drones were not just weapons, they were tools of influence, a way to project power without direct confrontation. Take Yemen, for example. The Houthi rebels have been fighting Saudi Arabia since 2015, and they've used Iranian drones to devastating effect. In 2019, Houthi drones attacked Saudi oil facilities at Abqaiq and Qurayz. The strikes knocked out half of Saudi Arabia's oil production. It was one of the most significant attacks on energy infrastructure in history. And it was done with drones, Iranian drones, or at least Iranian designs. The attack sent shockwaves through global markets. Oil prices spiked. Security analysts were stunned. How could a rebel group in Yemen pull off such a precise strike? The answer was Iran. They had provided the technology, the training, the expertise. And it showed the world what drones could do in the right hands, or the wrong ones, depending on your perspective. Then there's Lebanon. Hezbollah has been using Iranian drones since the early 2000s. In 2004, they flew a drone over Israel. It was shot down, but it made headlines. Hezbollah had air capability. And over the years, their drone fleet has grown. They've used them for reconnaissance, for propaganda, even for attacks. And all of this is possible because of Iran. Tehran supplies the drones, trains the operators, and Hezbollah uses them to challenge Israel, a country with one of the most advanced air defenses in the world. Iraq is another example. After the fall of Saddam Hussein, Iranian-backed militias gained influence, and they brought drones with them. These groups have used drones to attack American bases in Iraq and Syria. The drones are small, hard to detect, and effective. They can carry explosives, fly low, and strike with precision. And because they're unmanned, there's no risk of casualties for the operators. It's asymmetric warfare at its finest. And Iran has mastered it. But the real test came in Ukraine, when Russia invaded in February 2022. They expected a quick victory, but Ukrainian resistance was fierce. And Russia's military struggled, their precision weapons ran low, their logistics faltered, so Moscow turned to Tehran. And Iran delivered the Shahd 136 drone became Russia's weapon of choice. It's a loitering munition, also called a kamikaze drone. It flies to a target and explodes on impact. The design is simple, a small engine, a GPS system, a warhead, that's it. But simplicity is its strength. These drones are cheap to produce, easy to operate, and hard to stop. Ukrainian air defenses have shot down many, but not all. And the ones that get through cause real damage. They've hit power plants, bridges, civilian infrastructure. Ukraine's cities have been plunged into darkness because of these drones, and Iran has supplied them by the hundreds, some reports say thousands. This has made Iran a key player in the Ukraine war, not on the battlefield, but in the skies, and it's drawn international condemnation. The United States, the European Union, they've all imposed sanctions on Iran's drone program. But sanctions haven't stopped Tehran. If anything, they've accelerated, because Iran sees drones as a strategic asset. So what makes Iran's drones so effective? First, there's cost. A Shahd 136 costs around $20,000. Compare that to a Patriot missile, which costs $3 million to shoot down a $20,000 drone with a $3 million missile. Is not sustainable. Ukraine has said this openly. They need cheaper air defenses because Iran's drones are bleeding their resources. Second, there's quantity. Iran can produce drones at scale. They have factories, research centers, supply chains. They've built an entire industry around unmanned systems, and they're churning out drones faster than many Western countries. Third, there's versatility. Iran has drones for every purpose: reconnaissance drones like the Mohajer, combat drones like the Karar, kamikaze drones like the Shahd. They even have underwater drones for naval operations. This diversity gives Iran options. They can tailor their drones to specific missions, specific conflicts. And fourth, there's innovation. Iran is constantly upgrading its drones, adding new features, better sensors, longer range stealth capabilities. They're learning from every deployment, every conflict, and they're improving. Take the Shahd 136 in Ukraine, Russia, and Iran have modified it based on battlefield feedback. They've added decoys, changed flight patterns, made them harder to detect. This iterative process is key to Iran's success. But it's not just about technology, it's about strategy. Iran uses drones as a force multiplier. They allow Tehran to project power without direct involvement. If Houthi drones attack Saudi Arabia, Iran can deny responsibility. If Hezbollah flies a drone over Israel, Tehran can claim ignorance. This plausible deniability is crucial. It lets Iran challenge its adversaries without triggering full-scale war. And it's working. Iran's influence in the Middle East has grown significantly over the past 2 decades, and drones are a big reason why they've given Iran's allies and proxies a capability they never had before: air power. Of course, this has consequences. The proliferation of Iranian drones is destabilizing the region. Every conflict now has a drone dimension: Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, even Gaza. Iranian drones, or their designs, are everywhere. And this is forcing other countries to adapt. Saudi Arabia has invested billions in air defense systems. Israel has developed anti-drone technologies. The United States is deploying counter-drone units. It's an arms race, and Iran is driving it. But there are vulnerabilities. Iran's drone program is not invincible. For one, it relies heavily on foreign components, engines, electronics, guidance systems. Many of these come from China or are smuggled from the West. Sanctions are supposed to stop this, but enforcement is patchy still. If the supply chain is disrupted, Iran's production could slow down. Second, Iran's drones are not as advanced as American or Israeli models. They lack the sophistication, the endurance, the payload capacity of Western drones. A Shahd 136 can fly maybe 1,000 kilometers. An American Reaper can fly thousands more and stay airborne for over 24 hours, so there's a gap in capability. Third, Iran's drone operators are vulnerable. They need training infrastructure, command centers. All of these can be targeted. Israel has reportedly struck Iranian drone facilities in Syria, and this could happen elsewhere if Iran's adversaries decide to escalate. So what does the future hold for Iran's drone fleet? All signs point to expansion. Tehran is investing more in unmanned systems. They're developing new models, testing new technologies. They've even unveiled a stealth drone called the Gaza, which they claim can evade radar. And they're exporting aggressively. Countries like Russia, Venezuela, even some African nations are buying Iranian drones. This gives Tehran revenue, influence, and strategic partnerships. It's turning drones into a diplomatic tool. And there's another dimension: artificial intelligence. Iran is reportedly working on AI-powered drones that can operate autonomously, select targets, make decisions without human input. If they succeed, this could be A game-changer, autonomous drones are the future of warfare, and Iran wants to be at the forefront. But this also raises serious questions about accountability, about ethics, about the laws of war, because drones are changing how conflicts are fought. They're making war cheaper, easier, more remote. And Iran is leading this charge for better or worse. The Islamic Republic has turned a necessity into a strength. They couldn't buy advanced weapons, so they built drones. And now those drones are reshaping battlefields from Ukraine. Yemen, the question is, can the world keep up, or will Iran's drone fleet continue to tilt the balance of power in its favor? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: Iran's drones are here to stay, and they're changing the rules of the game.